Most people these days live and work in towns and cities, but they still need parks and gardens, and they make the most of patches of green tucked away between shops and houses. Here in the northeast of England, there are all sorts of parks, and people use them in many different ways. Eldon Square in Newcastle attracts passing shoppers and their children who want to feed the pigeons. Nearby, Charlotte Square offers a bit of peace and quiet in the heart of the city for a lunchtime read. Benwell Nature Park in Newcastle is an inner-city community park. It may have been created on waste ground from the city's rubble, but its pond is still full of sticklebacks and tadpoles. Northumberland County Council owns several country parks, a short bus ride from the busy factories and housing estates of Tyneside and southeast Northumberland. This is more like the real country. You can ride, picnic, go canoeing, or take a long walk. But now imagine another kind of park, not so very far away. A park that stretches as far as the eye can see, over miles of wild hills, moors and valleys. A national park, a place where you can really get away from it all. England and Wales have 10 national parks, amounting to 1/10 of the land's surface. Northumberland National Park covers an area of 400 square miles. It's beautiful and impressive countryside, protected but accessible. From the Scottish border, the River Glen and College Burn thread through the grassy domes of the Cheviot Hills. Beyond the River Coquet, the sandstone ridge of Simonside, clothed in spruce and pine forests, rises sharply, then dissolves into heather moorland and sheep walks. Further south and west in the park, the wastes of Reedsdale give way to the more fertile farmland of the North Tyne Valley. At the southern edge of the park, Forest Myers and rough grassland lead south to the Windsill, the dramatic ridge along which the Romans built their wall. The boundary sign and emblem of the national park is a curlew, a bird of the moors and marshes, with a bubbling call that captures just the right feeling of freedom, beauty, and vulnerability. The national park is famous for its open, rolling hills. Once the uplands of Northumberland were covered with trees, but our ancestors cut most of them down or burnt them to make room for their herds of sheep and goats. There were more people living here in prehistoric times than there are now. Humps and hollows show where their huts and stockades were. Hidden among the bracken here at Greaves Ash are the remains of a Romano-British settlement.
And that would have accommodated about 8 or 10 people in a family. So you can imagine them all sitting in there with the fire in the middle, animal skins and straw or bracken for beds. The doorway, I think, is possibly a bit wide. It might have had a wooden structure inside of it. And then the rest of this compound that we haven't drawn to scale yet is where they kept the sheep and any cattle they had.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, offset 12.
Places like this are scattered all over the hills and make great subjects for school projects.
Now that bottom of the wall is 3.9.
Okay.
And top of wall 3.1.
Some of the signs of past civilizations are less easy to understand. These strange shapes, called cup and ring marks, were carved into the rocks 3,000 years ago. Nobody really knows why. But we do know a lot about the Romans and Hadrian's Wall. Agricola's army had conquered northern England and most of Scotland by 80 AD. But the wilderness north of the Tyne proved to be a dangerous place, difficult to control, and inhabited by Caledonian tribes keen on stealing sheep and killing Romans. Hadrian had a wall built to keep out the troublemakers. There were forts and settlements right along the permanent frontier. Many of them have been excavated by archaeologists and are now visited by students from all over the world. The wall is also a favourite route for walkers, either heading along it or across it on the northern section of the Pennine Way. The footpaths which guide walkers through the national park cross a network of walls. They separate farms and prevent sheep and cattle from wandering into danger. The walls are a reminder that people live and work in the national park, and there are always jobs to be done. In the long run, it's in the landowner's interest to keep walls, paths and stiles in good repair. And it's in the visitor's interests not to damage walls, crops or anything else in the park. On the hill farms, shepherds are always busy, lambing in April and May, shearing in July, dipping and dosing in spring and autumn. Shearing involves everyone on the farm. The fleeces go to the wool marketing board, and afterwards the ewes go back out onto the hills with their lambs.